So let's get into that vibe right now. Let's crack open the ultimate playbook. We've all been sold a bill of goods about abundance, right? Like it's about grinding 24/7, chasing checks, and hoping God drops a bag from the sky if you beg enough. That's a scam, a total setup for burnout. But what if I told you the whole game was rigged in your favor from jump? What if the blueprint for insane, overflow, level abundance isn't in some finance book, but in the first dang book of the Bible, and Jesus was the only one who fully decoded it? That's what we're diving into today. Unlocking Genesis, Jesus' hidden blueprint for abundance. We're not talking Bible stories for kids. We're talking about the cosmic law, the divine pattern that Jesus operated in, the same one hidden in plain sight in the Genesis code. He wasn't just a nice guy with good sermons. He was the ultimate manifester, showing us how the system really works when you're plugged into the source. We're going to peel back the layers on how, in the beginning, isn't just a cool opening line. It's the master key to your now, and how Jesus' moves were a direct demonstration of that Genesis principle in action. So if you're ready to move past begging and into understanding, past hoping and into knowing, stick with me. 'Cause by the end of this, you're going to see your Bible, your wallet, and your whole dang life different. And trust me, what we're about to uncover, you're going to need a minute to process it. It's that potent. If this hits for you, if it starts unlocking something, do me a solid, like this video, drop a 777 in the comments if you're seeing the pattern, and subscribe. This isn't just a channel, it's a collective awakening. And the next key we turn is going to blow the doors clean off. You ready? We've all felt that gap, right? Between where we are and where we want to be. Between the bills piled up and the vision board. We call it lack, we call it struggle. But in the Genesis code, it's got a different name. It's just called the beginning. See, most of us read, in the beginning, like it's the first sentence in a history book. But that's where we miss the whole play. That phrase in the original Hebrew hits different. It's not about a point in time way back when. It's about a principle, a spiritual starting point that's available right now, this very second. It's the foundational rule of the universe before anything shows up in your world. Any healing, any provision, any solution, he has to exist here in this invisible, formless, divine realm. This is the Genesis gap. It's not an empty void. Nah, it's a pregnant void. It's full of every possible idea, every ounce of supply, every blueprint for wholeness, just waiting for something. And here's the kicker. That something is your consciousness, your awareness, your knowing. The gap isn't a problem, it's the necessary canvas. The darkness wasn't a mistake, it was the perfect condition for the first command to be heard. Let there be light. Your current challenge, that feeling of emptiness or not yet, isn't a sign you're failing, it's your spiritual starting point. It's your personal, in the beginning. It's the raw material, the holy nothingness that the Spirit of God is meant to move upon. But we freak out in the gap, don't we? We try to fill it with our own hustle, our own panic, our own limited logic. We start trying to build the thing with the bricks we already see on the ground, instead of realizing we have access to the unseen quarry. We're trying to create from the outside, in from effect, instead of from the inside out, from cause. That's living backwards. That's why it feels so exhausting. Jesus got this. When he was faced with 5,000 hungry people and zero catering, he didn't see the gap as the end of the story. He saw it as the beginning. He looked at that little bit of bread and fish, symbols of the visible, limited resources, and then he looked up. That right there is the master move. He shifted his gaze from the problem in form to the presence in the gap. He acknowledged the divine starting point. He gave thanks for what was already invisibly present in the realm of cause, not for the scarcity staring him in the face. He stood in that Genesis gap with total conviction that the law of creation was still active. And then, from that consciousness of oneness with the source, the multiplication happened through him. The provision didn't fall from the sky, it emerged from the understanding of the law. The loaves and fish were just the symbols. The real substance was the limitless idea of supply in the mind of God. He worked from the Genesis principle, not from the bank account. So your lack, your need, that thing that feels like a canyon between you and your desire, stop seeing it as a wall. See it as your sacred starting line. It's your personal invitation to let the Spirit move upon the face of your deep. It's not a sign you're broke. It's a sign you're primed for creation. The hunger is there, so you can acknowledge the feast that already exists in divine mind. The question is, are you staring into the gap in fear, or are you, like the Master, looking up into it with the knowing that it is already filled with the infinite idea of all you require? Your entire journey of abundance hinges on this one shift. Will you see yourself as a beggar in an empty world, or as a conscious creator, standing faithfully at the very beginning of everything, where all things are possible? So if the Genesis gap is the starting point, that raw, holy potential, then what exactly is it that moves upon it? What's the active ingredient that turns that formless void into a world of form and substance? Hustle, positive thinking, begging and pleading. Nah, it's something far more profound, and Jesus was the walking, talking embodiment of it. He didn't just teach truths, he was the truth in action. That's what we're pointing at when we talk about the Christ consciousness. It ain't a religion, it's the operating system. Think of it like this. Your personal computer has its own little processor running on its own limited software, your past, your fears, your ego, your bank statements. That's the human sense of life. It's slow, it crashes under pressure, and it's got major viruses of lack and separation. The Christ consciousness is like plugging directly into the infinite cloud server. It's the awareness of your oneness with the source, the understanding that the same creative principle that spoke, "Let there be light," is speaking through you right now. It's not Joel, it's not you, as a personality doing the work. It's the I am, the divine identity, recognizing itself and acting from its own limitless nature. Jesus was so dialed into this OS that there was zero gap between his thought and divine action. He said, "The Son can do nothing of himself, but what he seeth the Father do." That's the whole key right there. He wasn't running his own separate program, trying to get God to do stuff. He was abiding in the Father, letting the Father's intelligence be his intelligence, the Father's supply be his supply, the Father's power be his action. He was a clear, unobstructed channel. The miracles weren't him breaking natural law, they were him operating from a higher law, the Genesis law of creation, from the invisible to the visible. When he spoke to the storm, he wasn't commanding the weather out there. He was knowing the truth of peace from within the Christ mind, and the outer condition had to conform. It was a complete reversal of human logic. He didn't get his power from the circumstance, he imposed the power of the Spirit upon the circumstance. This is the game changer we miss. We're out here trying to fix our lives from the level of the problem, using the same old scared human consciousness that created the lack in the first place. It's like trying to use a candle to light up the sun. You're already standing in the light, you just got to open your eyes to it. The Christ consciousness is that awakening. It's the shift from being a seeker of abundance to being the very place where abundance expresses. It's the realization that I and the Father are one in terms of your true spiritual identity. Your job isn't to create supply. Your job is to acknowledge that you are the individual expression of the source that is supply itself. From that consciousness, right action, perfect ideas, and divine appointments flow naturally. You're not trying to attract things, you're realizing your inseparable union with the substance of all things. The loaves and fish multiplied because Jesus knew, from the depth of his being, the infinite nature of the substance they represented. He saw through the form to the unformed, limitless idea behind it. That's the Christ mind in operation. It doesn't see 5 loaves, It sees the unfade idea of nourishment already complete in God, and then witnesses that idea take shape. So the question isn't, how do I get more? The question is, how do I get me out of the way so that the I am that I am can operate freely? It's about shifting from the processor of personal will to the server of divine identity. That's when you stop living life and start letting life live you. And that's the bridge right there. That's the moment the rubber meets the road. We can talk about the starting point all day. We can vibe with the idea of a higher operating system. But if it stays up here as a cool theory, it's just spiritual entertainment. The magic, the absolute game, is in how that invisible knowing becomes tangible reality. How does the word become flesh? Jesus didn't just have good ideas, he manifested loaves, healed bodies, and walked on water. This is where we go from spectators to practitioners. This is manifestation one-on-one, and the curriculum is shockingly simple, yet we complicate it beyond recognition. Manifestation isn't about forcing the universe to cough up your wish list. That's just human desire wearing a spiritual mask. Real manifestation is the natural, effortless outpouring of the Christ consciousness into form. It's the let there be principle in you. Think about Genesis. God didn't beg for light. He's a new light from within his own being, and then he declared it. The knowing and the speaking were one movement. That's the divine pattern. Your word, when it comes from that place of oneness with Source, isn't just sound. It's creative power. It carries the full authority of the I am behind it. Jesus said, "The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life." He wasn't speaking about truth. He was speaking as from the position of being truth itself. His word was the event. So let's break down the process, because we get this backwards all the time. We see the lack, the empty wallet, the sick body, the broken relationship, and we start shouting affirmations at it, trying to convince God and ourselves that it's not there. That's fighting the shadow. That's giving power to the effect. Jesus never addressed the problem from the level of the problem. He always spoke from the finished spiritual fact. To the paralyzed man, he didn't say, "Oh man, your legs are messed up, let's pray for improvement." He declared the truth already established in the unseen. "Rise, take up thy bed and walk." He saw the man's spiritual identity, whole and perfect, and called that forth. His word was the vehicle that brought the invisible perfection into visible experience. He didn't heal the man, he revealed the man who was never sick in the first place, in the eyes of spirit. This is the master key we've been sleeping on. Your word, anchored in the silent, absolute knowing of the Christ within you, is the creative agent. It's not about volume or repetition. It's about authority. It's the calm, clear, inner utterance that happens when you've beheld the spiritual fact in the gap. Before you speak a thing aloud, you have to hear it within. That inner hearing is the Father showing you what he's already doing. Then, when you utter it, whether in prayer, in quiet command, or in silent acknowledgement, you are releasing that divine idea into the realm of form. You are giving it a channel. You're not making it happen. You're letting it happen through you. The manifestation is simply the shadow catching up with the substance. The hard part isn't the speaking. It's the abiding in that knowing so deeply that the outer evidence becomes irrelevant. You don't need to see it to believe it. You believe it, you know it, and therefore you will see it. The flesh that the word becomes is every circumstance, every relationship, every dollar. It's the infinite ideas of spirit, clothing themselves in the forms of your daily life. So the practice isn't about convincing a stubborn world to change. It's about anchoring yourself so firmly in the unchangeable spiritual truth that the world has no choice but to reflect that conviction back to you. It starts with a whisper in your soul, a word of power that comes not from your lips, but from the depths of your union. That's where creation begins, every single time. But here's where we trip up every single time. We get a glimpse of this truth, we feel that surge of power, and what's our immediate human reaction? We switch into hyperdrive. We think, all right, I got the blueprint. Time to hustle, time to grind, time to make this thing happen. We turn the sacred creative process into another item on our to-do list, another fire we have to fan with our own breath. And in that frantic doing, we sever the connection. We jump right out of the cloud server and back onto our hamster wheel. We forget the most critical, non-negotiable step in the entire Genesis sequence, the Sabbath. This ain't about a day of the week to go to church. The Sabbath frequency is the divine rhythm built into creation itself. Look at the blueprint 6 periods of divine utterance, of let there be, and then a complete cessation, a holy stop. The 7th day wasn't another day of work, it was a day of rest, of completion, of enjoyment. This is the universe's greatest secret to abundance receiving mode. You cannot be in the giving, pushing, forcing mode and the receiving mode at the same time. They cancel each other out. Your personal will is a transmitter, and a noisy one at that, broadcasting signals of lack and effort. The Sabbath is turning off that transmitter so you can finally hear the broadcast of the infinite. It's getting your hands off the steering wheel so the divine driver can take over. Jesus knew this frequency was everything. He would perform these incredible acts of power, and then what would he do? He would dip out. He'd go up into a mountain alone, or slip away before dawn to pray. The world was screaming for more healing, more teaching, more miracles, and he deliberately hit pause. He wasn't being lazy, he was being lawful. He was realigning with the source, re-entering that state of oneness where nothing is being done, because everything already is. He was dwelling in the Sabbath consciousness, the consciousness of the work finished, the provision already made, the harmony already established. From that quiet, rested, receptive place, his next move would flow with effortless power and perfect timing. He wasn't running on battery power, he was constantly plugging back into the outlet. We burn out because we're trying to live in a perpetual day 6. We're always speaking, always doing, always affirming, always visualizing, always trying to push the river. We never let the universe deliver the goods. The Sabbath frequency is the art of letting the yeast rise. You've mixed the ingredients, your consciousness, your word, your faith. Now you have to let it sit. You have to trust the law you've set in motion. This is where real trust is born. It's moving from mental understanding to embodied knowing, a knowing so deep it allows you to truly rest. In that rest, you're not passive. You're supremely active in the spiritual realm. You are holding the space, you are maintaining the vision, but you are free from all anxiety about the how and the when. You've placed the order with the infinite, and now you're not standing at the door nagging the delivery driver. You're at peace, knowing it's already handled. This rest is the ultimate affirmation. It declares, well, my good is guaranteed by divine law, not by my effort. It's in this silent, open, receptive space that the substance takes form. The ideas download, the synchronicities line up, the right people call. The opportunity lands in your lap, because you've stopped blocking the flow with your own frantic interference. You've finally tuned to the channel where grace is broadcasting 24/7. The work is in the knowing and the speaking. The manifestation is in the resting and the receiving. You can't skip the Sabbath. It's not a suggestion, it's the final, critical phase of the creative cycle. Without it, you're just talking to yourself, and this brings us to the very engine of it all. If the Sabbath is the receptive field, then what exactly are we receiving? What is the actual mechanism that transforms that quiet, restful certainty into a changed world? It's not a mysterious force that just randomly picks some people to bless. It's a precise, immutable law, and Jesus put his finger right on it. He called it seeing, but not with your eyeballs. He called it beholding. He said, when you pray, believe that you have received, and it will be yours. That word, believe, isn't about hoping really hard. In the original context, it means to be persuaded of a thing as true, to give inward assent. It's to behold it as already accomplished in the unseen realm. This is the beholding principle seeing is creating. Your consciousness is not a mirror reflecting your world, it's a projector beaming the world into existence. We've got it backwards. We think, I'll believe it when I see it. The spiritual law declares, you'll see it because you've beheld it. Every single thing in your outer experience started as a picture held in consciousness. Not as a wistful daydream, but as an accepted reality. Your bank account, your health, your relationships, they are all exact prints of the inner image you've consented to, the one you've given your attention and faith to. The problem is, most of us are beholding the problem. We're staring at the empty checking account, rehearsing the diagnosis, feeding the drama of the broken relationship, and by giving it our focused mental and emotional energy, we are, in fact, creating more of it. We are holding the camera steady on the very thing we say we don't want. We're worshipping the idol of lack. Jesus never did that. His beholding was flawless. He looked at a leper and didn't see a leper. He beheld the child of God, whole and untouched by disease. He looked at a storm and beheld the inherent peace and order of spirit. He looked at a tomb and beheld the eternal life that death could not touch. He wasn't denying the appearance. He was seeing through it to the spiritual fact that contradicted it. And because his consciousness was one with the Father, his beholding had creative authority. The outer condition had no choice but to collapse into alignment with the superior reality he was holding in mind. This is the ultimate act of dominion. You're not fighting the darkness, you're turning on the light. You're not repairing a broken image, you're replacing the slide in the projector. So the practice, the real inner work, is this radical guardianship of your mental screen. It's learning to withdraw your gaze, your belief, your emotional juice from the illusion of lack and fix it, with unwavering attention, on the spiritual truth. You behold your finances as the infinite substance of God, taking perfect form. You behold your body as the temple of the living Spirit, whole and harmonious. You behold that difficult person as the Christ in expression. You do this not by straining, but by relaxing into the knowing of what is in divine reality. You cultivate this inner vision until it becomes more real to you than the outer testimony of the senses. This is the high watch. This is where you live from the end. You feel the gratitude for the answered prayer now. You speak from the place of the solution now. You act as if the abundance is already flowing now. You are not creating the vision, you are discovering the vision that God already has for you, and you are agreeing with it. You are letting the divine idea occupy you so completely that it pushes out every contradictory picture. When your beholding is steady, when you are fully persuaded, the manifestation is simply the shadow catching up. It's inevitable. The outer world is always a slave to the inner picture, always. So the only question that matters is this: what are you, at this very moment, holding in the sacred space of your attention? Are you beholding the problem, or are you beholding the Christ truth that dissolves it? Your entire experience hangs in the balance of that single, focused gaze. This all leads to one final, breathtaking realization. It's the reason for the blueprint, the point of the whole operation. It's not just to make you a better manifester, a more effective beggar at the throne of grace. It's to awaken you to your true position. All of this, the gap, the Christ mind, the creative word, the Sabbath rest, the power of beholding, converges on one divine truth that has been waiting for you since the very first chapter. It's the truth of your dominion. This is where you stop being a passenger in your own life, buffeted by circumstances, and you finally take the wheel. Not the ego's wheel of control, but the sacred steering wheel of spiritual authority that was yours from the beginning. Go back to Genesis. After the whole symphony of creation, what was the final instruction to the being made in God's own image and likeness? Have dominion. Have dominion over the fish, the birds, every living thing. Now, we've twisted that into a license for exploitation, but that's a mortal misunderstanding. In the spiritual sense, dominion means authority through consciousness. It means your inner state governs your outer reality. The fish and birds are the moving, shifting elements of your experience, your thoughts, your emotions, your circumstances, your supply. You were never meant to be their victim. You were designed, hardwired, to be their master. But this mastery doesn't come from shouting at the waves. It comes from the quiet knowing of who you are in union with the source. Jesus demonstrated this perfect dominion when he walked on the water. He didn't conquer the sea, he understood the spiritual law that transcended it. His consciousness of mastery was so complete that the water had to support him. He was exercising the Genesis mandate in its pure form. This is your inheritance, right now. Your dominion is not something you earn, it's something you remember. You reclaim it the moment you stop identifying as the effect, the broke person, the sick person, the struggling person, and you identify as the cause, as the individual expression of the one divine cause. This is the ultimate shift from reacting to creating. When a challenge arises, you don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" From the seat of dominion, you ask, "What consciousness am I embodying that is allowing this appearance, and what higher truth can I now behold to dissolve it?" You take responsibility not as blame, but as power. You realize there are no external powers over you. There is only the one power, and you are its individualized point of expression. Therefore, nothing can come into your experience unless it first finds a corresponding state within you. That's not a threat. That's the ultimate empowerment. It means you can change everything by changing the inner landscape. Taking the wheel means you consciously direct your beholding. You choose your mental diet. You guard your inner conversations. You refuse to let the world's hypnosis of lack live rent-free in your mind. You dwell in the Sabbath rest of the finished work, and from that peace you speak the word that aligns with abundance. You operate from the Christ mind as your default setting. This is active dominion. It's a daily, moment-by-moment practice of choosing your reality from the inside out. It's not always easy, because the old habit of being a slave to appearances is strong. But the authority is already yours. The keys are in your hand. The Genesis blueprint was your birthright, and Jesus was the living proof that it works. You are not waiting for permission. You are not waiting for a sign. You are the authority. Your consciousness is the sovereign realm where your kingdom is established, where everything else is just decoration. So the work is to live from that dominion, to think from it, speak from it, and act from it, until the outer world has no choice but to kneel before the royalty of your own awakened spirit.